Directorate coordinates the information intelligence at both federal and provincial levels, including the FIA, IB, Motorway Police, and civil armed forces such as the Pakistan Rangers and the Frontier Corps. Pakistan's premier intelligence agency, the Inter-Services Intelligence, ISI, was formed just within a year after the independence of Pakistan in 1947. ABC News Point in 2014 reported that the ISI was ranked as the top intelligence agency in the world. The court system is organized as a hierarchy, with the Supreme Court at the apex, below which are high courts, federal Shariat courts, one in each province and one in the federal capital, district courts, one in each district, judicial magistrate courts, in every town and city, executive magistrate courts, and civil courts. The penal code has limited jurisdiction in the tribal areas, where law is largely derived from tribal customs. Kashmir conflict. Main article, Kashmir conflict. Kashmir, a Himalayan region situated at the northernmost point of the Indian subcontinent, was governed as an autonomous princely state known as Jammu and Kashmir in the British Raj prior to the partition of India in August 1947. Following the independence of India and Pakistan post-partition, the region became the subject of a major territorial dispute that has hindered their bilateral relations. The two states have engaged each other in two large-scale wars over the region in 1947, 1948 and 1965. India and Pakistan have also fought smaller-scale protracted conflicts over the region in 1971, 1984 and 1999. Approximately 45.1% of the Kashmir region is controlled by India, administratively split into Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, which also claims the entire territory of the former princely state of Jammu and Kashmir that is not under its control. India's control over Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh as well as its claim to the rest of the region has likewise been contested by Pakistan, which controls approximately 38.2% of the region, administratively split into Azad Jammu and Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan, and claims all of the territory under Indian control. Additionally, approximately 20% of the region known as Aksai Chin and the Sharksgam Valley, since Sino-Pakistani Agreement of 1963, has been controlled by China. The Chinese-controlled areas of Kashmir remain subject to an Indian territorial claim, but are not claimed by Pakistan. Neelam Valley in Azad Kashmir is part of Pakistani-controlled Kashmir. India claims the entire Kashmir region on the basis of the Instrument of Accession, a legal agreement with the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir that was executed by Hari Singh, the Maharaja of the state, who agreed to cede the entire area to newly independent India. Pakistan claims most of Kashmir on the basis of its Muslim majority population and of its geography, the same principles that were applied for the creation of the two independent states. India referred the dispute to the United Nations on the 1st of January 1948. In a resolution passed in 1948, the UN's General Assembly asked Pakistan to remove most of its military troops to set the conditions for the holding of a plebiscite. However, Pakistan failed to vacate the region and a ceasefire was reached in 1949, establishing a ceasefire line known as the Line of Control, LOC, that divided Kashmir between the two states as a de facto border. India, fearful that the Muslim-majority populace of Kashmir would vote to secede from India, did not allow a plebiscite to take place in the region. This was confirmed in a statement by India's Defence Minister, Krishna Menon, who stated, Kashmir would vote to join Pakistan and no Indian government responsible for agreeing to plebiscite would survive. Pakistan claims that its position is for the right of the Kashmiri people to determine their future through impartial elections as mandated by the United Nations. while India has stated that Kashmir is an integral part of India, referring to the 1972 Simla Agreement and to the fact that regional elections take place regularly. In recent developments, certain Kashmiri independence groups believe that Kashmir should be independent of both India and Pakistan. Law enforcement. Main articles: Law enforcement in Pakistan and Pakistani intelligence community. The law enforcement in Pakistan is carried out by joint network of several federal and provincial police agencies. The 4 provinces and the Islamabad Capital Territory, ICT, each have a civilian police force with jurisdiction extending only to the relevant province or territory. At the federal level, there are a number of civilian intelligence agencies with nationwide jurisdictions including the Federal Investigation Agency, FIA, and the Intelligence Bureau, IB, as well as National Guard and the civil armed forces such as the Gilgit-Baltistan Scouts, the Punjab Rangers, and the Frontier Corps Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, North. The most senior officers of all the civilian police forces also form part of the police service, which is a component of the civil service of Pakistan. Namely, there is 4 provincial police service including the Punjab Police, Sindh Police, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Police, and the Balochistan Police, all headed by the appointed senior inspector generals. The ICT has its own police component, the Capital Police, to maintain law and order in the capital. The SID bureaus are the crime investigation unit and form a vital part in each provincial police service. The law enforcement in Pakistan also has a motorway patrol which is responsible for enforcement of traffic and safety laws, security and recovery on Pakistan's inter-provincial motorway network. In each of provincial police service, it also maintains a respective elite police units led by the NACTA, a counter-terrorism police unit, as well as providing VIP escorts. In the Punjab and Sindh, the Pakistan Rangers are an internal security force with the prime objective to provide and maintain security in war zones and areas of conflict, as well as maintaining law and order, which includes providing assistance to the police. The Frontier Corps serves the similar purpose in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and the Balochistan. Human rights. Main articles: Human rights in Pakistan and LGBT rights in Pakistan. Male homosexuality is illegal in Pakistan and punishable with up to life in prison. In its 2018 Press Freedom Index, Reporters Without Borders ranked Pakistan number 139 out of 180 countries based on freedom of the press. Television stations and newspapers are routinely shut down for publishing any reports critical of the government or the military. Military. Main article: Pakistan Armed Forces. The armed forces of Pakistan are the 6th largest in the world in terms of numbers in full-time service, with about 651,800 personnel on active duty and 291,000 paramilitary personnel, as of tentative estimates in 2021. They came into existence after independence in 1947, and the military establishment has frequently influenced the national politics ever since. Chain of command of the military is kept under the control of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee. All of the branches' joint works, coordination, military logistics, and joint missions are under the Joint Staff HQ. The Joint Staff HQ is composed of the Air HQ, Navy HQ, and Army GHQ in the vicinity of the Rawalpindi Military District. The Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee is the highest principal staff officer in the armed forces, and the Chief Military Advisor to the civilian government, though the Chairman has no authority over the 3 branches of armed forces. The Chairman Joint Chiefs controls the military from the JSHQ and maintains strategic communications between the military and the civilian government. As of 2021, The CJCSC is General Nadeem Raza alongside Chief of Army Staff General Asim Munir, Chief of Naval Staff Admiral Muhammad Amjad Khan Niazi, and Chief of Air Staff Air Chief Marshal Zahir Ahmed Baba. The main branches are the Army, the Air Force and the Navy, which are supported by a large number of paramilitaries in the country. Control over the strategic arsenals, deployment, employment, development, military computers and command and control is a responsibility vested under the National Command Authority, which oversaw the work on the nuclear policy as part of the credible minimum deterrence. The United States, Turkey, and China maintain close military relations and regularly export military equipment and technology transfer to Pakistan. Joint logistics and major war games are occasionally carried out by the militaries of China and Turkey. Philosophical basis for the military draft is introduced by the Constitution in times of emergency, but it has never been imposed. Military history. Main article, Military History of Pakistan. Since 1947, Pakistan has been involved in 4 conventional wars with India. The First Indo-Pak War of 1947 occurred in Kashmir, with Pakistan gaining control of Western Kashmir, Azad Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan, and India retaining Eastern Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. Territorial problems eventually led to another conventional war in 1965. The 1971 war resulted in Pakistan's unconditional surrender of East Pakistan. Tensions in Kargil brought the two countries at another brink of war. Since 1947, the unresolved territorial problems with Afghanistan saw border skirmishes which were kept mostly at the mountainous border. In 1961, the military and intelligence community repelled the Afghan incursion in the Bajaur Agency near the Durand Line border. Rising tensions with neighboring USSR in their involvement in Afghanistan. Pakistani intelligence community, mostly the ISI, systematically coordinated the US resources to the Afghan Mujahideen and foreign fighters against the Soviet Union's presence in the region. Military reports indicated that the PAF was in engagement with the Soviet Air Force, supported by the Afghan Air Force during the course of the conflict, one of which belonged to Alexander Rutskoy. Apart from its own conflicts, Pakistan has been an active participant in United Nations peacekeeping missions. It played a major role in rescuing trapped American soldiers from Mogadishu, Somalia, in 1993 in Operation Gothic Serpent. According to UN reports, the Pakistani military is the third largest troop contributor to UN peacekeeping missions after Ethiopia and India. Pakistan has deployed its military in some Arab countries, providing defense, training, and playing advisory roles. The PAF and Navy's fighter pilots have voluntarily served in Arab nations' militaries against Israel in the Six-Day War, 1967, and in the Yom Kippur War, 1973. Pakistan's fighter pilots shot down 10 Israeli planes in the Six-Day War. In the 1973 war, one of the PAF pilots, FLT Lieutenant Sattar Alvi, flying a MiG-21, shot down an Israeli Air Force Mirage and was honored by the Syrian government. Requested by the Saudi monarchy in 1979, Pakistan's Special Forces units, operatives, and commandos were rushed to assist Saudi forces in Mecca to lead the operation of the Grand Mosque. For almost 2 weeks, Saudi Special Forces and Pakistani commandos fought the insurgents who had occupied the Grand Mosque's compound. In 1991, Pakistan became involved with the Gulf War and sent 5,000 troops as part of a US-led coalition, specifically for the defense of Saudi Arabia. Despite the UN arms embargo on Bosnia, General Javad Nazir of the ISI airlifted anti-tank weapons and missiles to Bosnian Mujahideen, which turned the tide in favor of Bosnian Muslims and forced the Serbs to lift the siege. Under Nazir's leadership, the ISI was also involved in supporting Chinese Muslims in Xinjiang province, rebel Muslim groups in the Philippines, and some religious groups in Central Asia. Since 2004, the military has been engaged in an insurgency in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, mainly against the Turkai Taliban factions. Major operations undertaken by the army include Operation Black Thunderstorm, Operation Ra-e-Najat and Operation Zabi-Azb. According to SIPRI, Pakistan was the 9th largest recipient and importer of arms between 2012 and 2016. Economy. Main articles: Economy of Pakistan and Economic History of Pakistan. See also, Pakistan and the International Monetary Fund. The economy of Pakistan is the 23rd largest in the world in terms of purchasing power parity, PPP, and 42nd largest in terms of nominal gross domestic product. Economists estimate that Pakistan was part of the wealthiest region of the world throughout the first millennium CE, with the largest economy by GDP. This advantage was lost in the 18th century as other regions such as China and Western Europe edged forward. Pakistan is considered a developing country and is one of the next 11, a group of 11 countries that, along with the BRICS, have a high potential to become the world's largest economies in the 21st century. In recent years, after decades of social instability, as of 2013, serious deficiencies in macromanagement and unbalanced macroeconomics in basic services such as rail transportation and electrical energy generation have developed. The economy is considered to be semi-industrialized, with centers of growth along the Indus River. The diversified economies of Karachi and Punjab's urban centers coexist with less developed areas in other parts of the country, particularly in Balochistan. According to the Economic Complexity Index, Pakistan is the 67th largest export economy in the world and the 106th most complex economy. During the fiscal year 2015-16, Pakistan's exports stood at $20.81 billion and imports at $44.76 billion, resulting in a negative trade balance of $23.96 billion. Statue of a bull outside the Pakistan Stock Exchange, Islamabad, Pakistan. As of 2022, Pakistan's estimated nominal GDP is $376.493 billion. The GDP by PPP is $1.512 trillion. The estimated nominal per capita GDP is $1.658. The GDP, PPP, /capita is $6.662 international dollars. According to the World Bank, Pakistan has important strategic endowments and development potential. The increasing proportion of Pakistan's youth provides the country with both a potential demographic dividend and a challenge to provide adequate services and employment. 21.04% of the population live below the international poverty line of $1.25 a day. The unemployment rate among the aged 15 and over population is 5.5%. Pakistan has an estimated 40 million middle-class citizens, projected to increase to 100 million by 2050. A 2015 report published by the World Bank ranked Pakistan's economy at 24th largest in the world by purchasing power and 41st largest in absolute terms. It is South Asia's second largest economy, representing about 15.0% of regional GDP. Pakistan's economic growth since its inception has been varied. It has been slow during periods of democratic transition, but robust during the 3 periods of martial law, although the foundation for sustainable and equitable growth was not formed. The early to middle 2000s was a period of rapid economic reforms. The government raised development spending, which reduced poverty levels by 10% and increased GDP by 3%. The economy cooled again from 2007. Inflation reached 25.0% in 2008, and Pakistan had to depend on a fiscal policy backed by the International Monetary Fund to avoid possible bankruptcy. A year later, the Asian Development Bank reported that Pakistan's economic crisis was easing. The inflation rate for the fiscal year 2010-11 was 14.1%. Since 2013, as part of an International Monetary Fund program, Pakistan's economic growth has picked up. In 2014, Goldman Sachs predicted that Pakistan's economy would grow 15 times in the next 35 years to become the 18th largest economy in the world by 2050. In his 2016 book, The Rise and Fall of Nations, Ruchi Sharma termed Pakistan's economy as at a takeoff stage, and the future outlook until 2020 has been termed very good. Sharma termed it possible to transform Pakistan from a low-income to a middle-income country during the next 5 years. Pakistan is one of the largest producers of natural commodities, and its labor market is the 10th largest in the world. The 7 million strong Pakistani diaspora contributed $19.9 billion to the economy in 2015-16. The major source countries of remittances to Pakistan are the UAE, the United States, Saudi Arabia, the Gulf states, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, and Oman, Australia, Canada, Japan, the United Kingdom, Norway, and Switzerland. According to the World Trade Organization, Pakistan's share of overall world exports is declining. It contributed only 0.13% in 2007. Agriculture and primary sector. Main articles: agriculture in Pakistan, fuel extraction in Pakistan, and mining in Pakistan. Surface mining in Sindh. Pakistan has been termed the Saudi Arabia of coal by Forbes. The structure of the Pakistani economy has changed from a mainly agricultural to a strong service base. Agriculture as of 2015 accounts for only 20.9% of the GDP. Even so, according to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, Pakistan produced 21,591,400 metric tons of wheat in 2005, more than all of Africa, 20,304,585 metric tons, and nearly as much as all of South America, 24,557,784 metric tons. Majority of the population, directly or indirectly, is dependent on this sector. It accounts for 43.5% of employed labor force and is the largest source of foreign exchange earnings. A large portion of the country's manufactured exports is dependent on raw materials such as cotton and hides that are part of the agriculture sector, while supply shortages and market disruptions in farm products do push up inflationary pressures. The country is also the 5th largest producer of cotton, with cotton production of 14 million bales from a modest beginning of 1.7 million bales in the early 1950s, is self-sufficient in sugarcane, and is the 4th largest producer of milk in the world. Land and water resources have not risen proportionately, but the increases have taken place mainly due to gains in labor and agriculture productivity. The major breakthrough in crop production took place in the late 1960s and 1970s due to the Green Revolution that made a significant contribution to land and yield increases of wheat and rice. Private tube wells led to a 50% increase in the cropping intensity, which was augmented by tractor cultivation. while the tube wells raised crop yields by 50%. The high-yielding varieties, HYVs, of wheat and rice led to a 50–60% higher yield. Meat industry accounts for 1.4% of overall GDP. Industry. Main article, Industry of Pakistan. See also, Textile industry in Pakistan. Industry is the second largest sector of the economy, accounting for 19.74% of gross domestic product, GDP, and 24% of total employment. Large-scale manufacturing, LSM, at 12.2% of GDP, dominates the overall sector, accounting for 66% of the sectoral share, followed by small-scale manufacturing, which accounts for 4.9% of total GDP. Pakistan's cement industry is also fast-growing mainly because of demand from Afghanistan and from the domestic real estate sector. In 2013, Pakistan exported 7,708,557 metric tons of cement. Pakistan has an installed capacity of 44,768,250 metric tons of cement and 42,636,428 metric tons of clinker. In 2012 and 2013, the cement industry in Pakistan became the most profitable sector of the economy. The textile industry has a pivotal position in the manufacturing sector of Pakistan. In Asia, Pakistan is the 8th largest exporter of textile products, contributing 9.5% to the GDP and providing employment to around 15 million people, some 30% of the 49 million people in the workforce. Pakistan is the 4th largest producer of cotton with the 3rd largest spinning capacity in Asia after China and India, contributing 5% to the global spinning capacity. China is the 2nd largest buyer of Pakistani textiles, importing $1.527 billion of textiles last fiscal. Unlike the US, where mostly value-added textiles are imported, China buys only cotton yarn and cotton fabric from Pakistan. In 2012, Pakistani textile products accounted for 3.3% or $1.07 billion of all UK textile imports, 12.4% or $4.61 billion of total Chinese textile imports, 3.0% of all US textile imports, $2,980 million, 1.6% of total German textile imports, $880 million, and 0.7% of total Indian textile imports, $888 million. Services. Main articles, Real estate in Pakistan, Information technology in Pakistan, and banking in Pakistan. As of 2014-15, the services sector makes up 58.8% of GDP and has emerged as the main driver of economic growth. Pakistani society, like other developing countries, is a consumption-oriented society, having a high margin or propensity to consume. The growth rate of services sector is higher than the growth rate of agriculture and industrial sector. Services sector accounts for 54% of GDP in 2014 and little over 1/3 of total employment. Services sector has strong linkages with other sectors of economy. It provides essential inputs to agriculture sector and manufacturing sector. Pakistan's IoT sector is regarded as among the fastest growing sectors in Pakistan. The World Economic Forum, assessing the development of information and communication technology in the country, ranked Pakistan 110th among 139 countries on the Networked Readiness Index 2016. As of May 2020, Pakistan has about 82 million internet users, making it the 9th largest population of Internet users in the world. The current growth rate and employment trend indicate that Pakistan's information communication technology (ICT) industry will exceed the $10 billion mark by 2020. The sector employs 12,000 and counts among top 5 freelancing nations. The country has also improved its export performance in telecom, computer and information services, as the share of their exports surged from 8.2%